Now, I have a few friends who just started playing, and I know a couple more people out there that are new to the game and don't exactly have the idea of exactly what they need to do. So, this video is for you guys. There are other videos on YouTube for beginners, but I'm going to try to cover what I know and what I've seen people need to know, because even all the beginner guides don't have everything that I'm going to talk about. First off, selecting your starter platoon doesn't necessarily really matter. You can pick any of them. They're going to change your play style a little bit, but if you choose the Panzer IV platoon, just keep in mind your gun's going to be good, but your armor's not. A little bit different for the T-34. The gun is decent, but the armor is better. As for the Sherman, it's a nice middle ground between the two with a decent gun and good enough armor for what it is at rank 1. Do not expect your tanks to be able to bounce shots at rank 1, because unless they're aiming really bad or you're at a very specific angle, the chances of you bouncing a shot are very low. So with that in mind, make sure to be careful and don't randomly go out in the middle of the open. Next up, for leveling your platoons or to improve them, I'd highly recommend firstly going for crew vitality as your first step, as well as spare parts, because allowing yourself to repair is really going to help you in battle. For lower rank 1 tanks, aiming and accuracy are also important, although in higher ranks those aren't necessarily needed in the early upgrading part because the tank is already so accurate. And if you do need more details, the more detailed button does tell you more about the attributes that you're improving. If you guys want a full upgrade guide, because I have played this game for a little while now, let me know in the comments and I'll see if I can get it done if you guys do want it. As for controls, these are going to be very important for when you're playing in ground battles. Personally, I turn off vibration because I don't really feel like it's necessary. Camera rotation assist, I also feel like I don't need because I can easily move the camera around, though for some people it may be more difficult, so they may have this turned on. The next change I suggest is turning up the camera sensitivity, both the normal one and the in-zoom mode a little bit. I turned it up by 10% because I feel like that just works better for me. If you find something else that works better for you, you can also do that. Track targets I set to manual because I used to play World of Tanks Blitz and that's what I was used to. Also, it helps me because I feel like in some situations it's better to track targets manually than automatically, and it can save you some headache and dying that you don't necessarily need. Grass and tank side is something I turned off because I didn't feel like it was necessary. It kind of just distracts you a little bit while you're trying to aim, and it visually doesn't add a whole lot for me, so that's why I've turned it off. Show reticle I've turned on because I feel like the ability to see where the distance is to your target is really important, as well as the auto zoom on target selection, which I've turned off because I feel like it's completely unnecessary. Displaying your own stats in battle could be scores or kills. That's up to you individually what you care more about. I don't really care, so I kind of just left it as score as the default. I'd also recommend turning on additional flight controls for air mode if you feel like you're not getting as much control as you really want from your plane. There are other options that you can go through that I haven't really done so myself if you feel like there's other things you want to change, but just putting that out there that turning on additional flight controls does help me. For the vehicles themselves, I've seen this happen a lot where some players think that because it's a tank, it should be armored completely like everywhere. That's not necessarily true. Tanks have the strongest armor in the front, and the side armor and the back armor tend to be a lot weaker. So when you're going to go fight an enemy, it's best that you're aiming your hull directly at them. When you level up more, if you choose to get the Tiger H1, it's better for it to be set at about a 45-degree angle so that the shells can ricochet off the sides rather than going through. Even with the Tiger being a heavy tank, the armor at the front can be penetrated at the midsection by most vehicles that you're going to go up against. Angling it reduces that chance by a lot. Next, I feel it's pretty important to remind you that if you are on fire during a battle, which may happen from time to time, there is a designated button right here that helps you extinguish fires. I know that other players that do beginner guides have missed out on stuff like that to talk about, but it is important because not everyone will recognize that that is something you can do, because it is a little bit discreet until it becomes a available option. If you see like the smoke button that I have right now available, the fire extinguisher button will light up like that when you can use it, though some players have their hands over the screen in that area so they can't see it when it is available. So just reminding you that if you are on fire, it is an option. You just need to make sure that you have enough spare parts. It's also why the upgrade is necessary because you could be set on fire multiple times in one match in case that your vehicle is being shot at again and then you're ignited on fire again. So it is important to get that. Next, I wanted to state how it is also really important that you make sure to use your smoke when it is the correct time to use it. For example, now would be pretty good as my enemy isn't necessarily doing what he really should and is looking really weirdly at me, but I don't want to get shot, so I'm going to relocate after firing my smoke. If you're in a sniping position and you have recently got a kill, it is recommended that you pop smoke and then relocate. Also remember, if you want to call attention to a certain area, you can click on the map and then drag the cursor over to where you want the attention to be at. Sometimes your allies will come and help you, other times they won't. Also, something I need to recommend is that you don't use backups. If you try to use the same vehicle after dying, it will give you the option to spend the backup. Although in the case that you only have one vehicle, because you just got to a new vehicle level and you just unlocked a new vehicle, that's when I would recommend using a backup so you can still continue to play the battle and get more experience points to level up the platoon and therefore giving you another vehicle. However, in the case that you already have a full platoon, you don't really need to waste your backups. At that point, I'd recommend just playing your other vehicles until you're left without any, because it's not really worth it to spend a backup when that can help you grind later on. Also, if you can, and you're up against a corner like this, try to hide the majority of the front of your tank so that the enemy, when it comes around the corner, cannot shoot at your vehicle. It will help a lot, but if your armor on your front isn't necessarily the best, it won't really do much because they will kind of go through your side armor. Also, if you want your artillery to serve a specific purpose, like being good against light tanks or being good against heavy tanks, there are options to change it. It does require, though, that you are leveled up to a decent extent and you have the option already paid for. Also, if you can use a bomber, I do recommend using it. From time to time, there will be enemies that also go along on your bombing missions, and they may end up getting the best of you. You can avoid placing your vehicle near any open area when you do switch into flying a bomber or a fighter aircraft, because if you don't, you're going to end up getting killed while you're flying. If you want to drop from high altitude, it is a really good thing to do because your enemy won't have much time to react. However, it's not exactly the best method because if your shells don't land, you won't get the kill. For a heavily armored vehicle, though, it is okay to do that from really high up so you can disable their gun and their tracks, but it might not get you the kill. You can always come back around with it and shoot at their tank, though, after flying on a bomber or a fighter. So regarding that whole flying a bomber during a match thing, if you have the ability to fly a fighter against a bomber, an enemy bomber, I'd recommend waiting until a few seconds before the bomber actually starts flying. It'll give you the countdown. Sometimes it starts at about like 12 down to 1. Normally it's 15 to 1, but the way that the game works currently, it just shortens it by a few seconds, but that should be okay. When it gets down to about 3, that's when I'd recommend clicking on using the fighter, because then the bomber player isn't going to be as aware that you are choosing to use a fighter, and they might not even notice you until you've already shot down the bomber. Now, to get to more of a core mechanic of the game, I feel like the currency is something you do need to pay attention to. Usually silver is going to be saved up to buy the next platoon, which I do recommend doing. Gold is another currency that you can use to buy platoons as well. Here are some of the platoons that I've already purchased: the Calliope, Dickermax, KV2, and Excelsior. However, I wouldn't necessarily recommend buying premium platoons until a later date. And by that, I mean you should probably level up a decent bit before going back and buying premiums. Unless you have an unreasonable amount of gold at hand, there isn't really a need to buy any of the latter premium platoons. Premium platoons do give you double the amount of experience for that level, as well as about double the amount of silver. Those may seem good in the short term, but in the long term, you're going to find something else that you're going to want to spend your gold on and spend it on that instead. If you really want to buy a premium platoon, you can go for it. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. I'm just saying, ideally, you probably should level up a bit first and then consider buying one. Although if one of your favorite vehicles is in a premium platoon, I can understand going right ahead and going for that premium platoon. It's up to you. In case you feel like you're not getting enough resources, you can get gold from watching ads every 2 hours, as well as the consumables and silver lions. If you want some more resources though, and you see an offer in the top right, you can click on it, and after it plays its little animation and the text pops up, there should be a crate thing that's right about here. I'll encircle it on the screen in post. And that is where you can get some more resources. It'll be there for the first time that you open that deal and anytime after until you claim it. Once you claim it, it will disappear and it will reappear the next time you have a new offer in the next 6 hours. Now, this doesn't only go for the ground campaign. The naval campaign also has the same thing where if you click on the premium offer, it will give you the same option to buy something there. However, I've already claimed these, so that's why they're not there currently. I have also seen some players confused with boosters and asking why they're necessary. So I'm going to explain each one of them really quickly, even though some of them are kind of self-explanatory. Campaign and research experience boosters will help you develop twice as much experience after one battle towards the next platoon if you're trying to level up in the ground and naval, and it'll help you develop more in the tech tree for aviation. Vehicle experience boosters increase the level of your vehicle. We talked about this earlier on in the video. That'll help double it after one battle. Silver Lion boosters will double the amount of silver you get from one battle. I don't really recommend buying any of these using gold. You will get them naturally over time by just doing the daily rewards and then watching the one advertisement after it, as well as the aforementioned premium platoon chest things. Specifically regarding the event chests, it's up to you to decide which mode you want to invest in. Personally, I like going for the ground battles because that's what I do the most often. However, I have noticed that currently, if you go into aviation, the chances of you getting more keys, if you want those, are higher from the aviation middle chest than the ground battle middle chest. So if you really are shooting for the chance to get the biggest prize from the large chest or the big trophy, I would recommend going for the aviation one. However, because I know the chances are really low of getting it regardless, I've stuck with the medium trophy of this event for the ground platoons. Also, you will be rewarded for completing these tasks in the achievements section. I recommend doing as much as you can. Some of them don't give gold, but rather titles, which can also be cool ways to decorate your profile. And as well as those, one really important thing that I need you guys to note, in the promo tab, there is the red M4. Now, the red M4 is available on normal War Thunder for playing War Thunder Mobile. I believe to get it, you need to complete the task of getting first place in your team score 3 times. This platoon isn't really any different from the original M4A1 platoon, though it does have the striking red camouflage, and the armor is actually a little bit better on this M4 than the other one. So it's a bit cosmetic, but it's also a bit better. I do think it's worth it to get it, so if you can, do your best in a battle and unlock this, and you can have it as a little trophy. To quickly speed up the leveling process for the campaign that you're playing, you can click on your current level and it will give you the option to choose the next rank. After choosing which one you'd like, you can then spend some gold and some silver. Depending on how much experience you already have on the level, it'll be either a lot of gold or a little bit of gold, but the silver is going to be the same amount for the vehicle. If you're in a lower rank, the gold should be a cheaper amount, and if you're in a higher rank, the gold will be a more expensive amount. But regardless, the closer you are to the next level, the less the amount of gold it takes to get to the next level. This is where the other option comes to buy premium things as well, is you can buy the level and the vehicle immediately completely for gold, and you will get boosted in it giving you double the silver and double the experience for that. And if there is any platoon that you did see earlier on in this video that you want me to dedicate an entire video on, both talking about and playing, then please do let me know in the comments, because I'm interested to see what you guys want to hear. As for my darling tanks, I am glad that you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.